Welcome to Scary Basement. Each week, me and my friend Mikey are drawn inexplicably and supernaturally to this basement, which contains a dish towel haunted by a ghost, a spooky dog with a human face, the actual portrait of Dorian Gray, and a Scrabble board with a knife. I'm Roxy Polk.
And I'm Mikey McCollor.
Let's start out, as we always do, Mikey, with the scariest things that happened to us this week. So what went down in your life outside the scary basement that spooked you to your very bones?
Roxy, the scariest thing that can happen to a man happened to me this week.
Wow, okay, you're raising my expectations immediately, so what are you going to say?
I got a letter from my landlord.
Okay, that's actually pretty scary. What did it say?
They're doing construction on our building.
Does that mean you have to move out?
I am not allowed to park in my parking spot while the construction is going on. I don't know if you know this about Los Angeles, California. Roxy, a lot of cars there.
Yeah, parking is a nightmare in Los Angeles, actually, so that's actually a very daunting, horrifying thing you're going to have to deal with for how long? Weeks? Months?
3 months.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Are you paying for that spot also? Can they, make your rent cheaper because you don't get access to it?
I called my landlord and was like, what are we doing? What's the plan here? Can I go, rent a parking spot somewhere nearby and then just, send you guys the receipts maybe? Or, is there a bonus off my rent that's going to happen? She's like, I don't think it's our responsibility.
Oh my god, it is, though.
I don't think, why would that be our responsibility? The city is making us do this. So it was a true nightmare. I ended up getting $70 off my rent. I pushed back.
The fact that you had to, though, landlords are such a fucking menace. It's so messed up.
Yeah, we're in the scary basement wherein every scary thing that has ever been lurks. And the fact that my landlord is down here makes it clear that she is a monster.
Well, at least you can feel vindicated with that, but at the same time, she just leaves periodically to ask for money from you. So
yeah, she comes down here and she's playing. Right now, I see her playing with a Chucky doll and a scythe. And yeah,
scythe?
I guess a scythe. Yeah, that's isn't that, what does a Grim Reaper have?
A scythe?
What? How do you say it?
Scythe.
I don't know about that.
Scythe?
I think it's pronounced scythe.
Are you fucking with me? Scythe. A scythe.
I think that's one of those words that I've only ever read and never had to say out loud. So, all right, Roxy, here's the new scariest thing that happened to me this week. My friend called me out in public. What was the scariest thing that happened to you?
That I called my friend out in public and made him feel sad.
Yeah.
Actually, the scariest thing that happened is I've complained about this before, but Oregon has a lot of spiders, and it is now springtime, so it's spider season. So 2 nights in a row, I've had to kill giant black spiders that have appeared on my ceiling right before bed. 2 nights in a row. Maybe I'll have to fight a third one tonight, but I've literally had to make a makeshift pole thing. There's some Swiffer floor cleaner thing that my roommate has. I literally will tie a piece of tissue paper to it and then just use the pole to kill the spider on my ceiling. And sometimes one of the times it fell on me and fell towards me and almost fell on me, and I shrieked and woke up my roommate in the next room.
Is it hard living somewhere that is every bit as scary as the scary basement?
It's not easy. I'm really tired of being a spider hunter and being forced into combat when I'm trying to go to sleep. But maybe it makes me tougher for when we go to the scary basement. I don't know, trying to look on the bright side.
I was just thinking how cool it would be if the next Spider-Man movie, he fights Kraven the Spider Hunter.
Kraven the Spider Hunter? Kraven's a Wolverine villain, right? Or... No, I don't know enough
he's
about
a Spider-Man guy. I think he's
stuff.
In the Sinister Six sometimes. He wears a big fluffy vest looking like Macho Man Randy Savage. I like him.
Oh, okay. See, I was thinking of Cable for some reason. Cable, Kraven, not at all the same guy. Sounds a little familiar. Or sounds a little similar, I mean.
Oh boy, here to break up our nerdy conversation. #1 jock of the scary basement, the Demon Bot.
He's wearing a jersey this time. How appropriate.
This is the scary basement, and you should know that jocks are not scary. What is scariest to nerds are other nerds who are overly pedantic. Later I will explain in excruciating detail the origins of both Craven the Hunter and Nathan Summers aka Cable. But first you were assigned the 1999 film The Sixth Sense, directed by M. Night Shyamalan and starring Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, and Toni Collette. Did you watch the film?
Yes, I watched The Sixth Sense. What about you, Mikey?
I too watched The Sixth Sense with my eyes.
Then great. Good job, us.
Good, then you may keep your souls.
Okay.
All right, we're doing it. Roxy, do we want to go ahead and start recapping the movie for anybody who is listening up at the Scary Basement door, has their ear pressed up to the trap door?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
All right. The Sixth Sense. We open up with Malcolm, who is a child psychologist who has just won an award. Good for him. He and his wife Anne are celebrating when they are interrupted by a break-in from a former patient. Now an adult and doing very poorly, this patient says that Malcolm failed him and shoots Malcolm and then himself.
Later that year, Malcolm's new patient is Cole, a troubled boy.
For now.
God damn, he waited even longer this time.
He's waiting longer. I really thought we were safe. I thought we were home free.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want to jinx it, and then it turned out he was just fucking with us the whole time.
With us.
Great.
All right,
Great.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Demon Bot, for nothing. All right. Later that year, Malcolm's new patient is Cole, a troubled boy who reminds Malcolm of his former patient he was unable to help. Malcolm is determined to save Cole and repair his strained relationship with his wife. Malcolm and Cole are getting along well, and Cole is even invited to a birthday party by a classmate.
While at this birthday party, bullies lock Cole in a cupboard where a scary voice had been yelling. Cole is terrified of being trapped and screams while the bullies look on in shock. Cole's mother saves him, and he passes out. When Cole wakes up in the hospital, his mother is being questioned by doctors and Child Protective Services. Malcolm then is at Cole's bedside, and this is when Cole finally confides in him his secret. Cole can see dead people.
Not only is Cole able to see ghosts, but he can communicate with them and they can communicate with him. The ghosts don't know they are dead and are often angry and violent, which causes the temperature to drop around them. Malcolm unfortunately does not believe Cole and thinks he may have some severe mental issues that he is unequipped to deal with as a psychologist.
As Malcolm considers ditching Cole, he listens to tapes of his previous client, and when he turns the volume up, he hears a haunted voice on the tape speaking in Spanish, revealing that not only are ghosts real, but his previous client is much more like Cole than he realized. This boy also saw ghosts. Determined to help Cole, Malcolm suggests that Cole tries to communicate with the ghosts to help them resolve their unfinished ghost business.
A young girl ghost approaches Cole. She vomits and says, "I'm feeling much better now." Cole is at first absolutely terrified, but then thinks better of it and approaches her and asks her what she needs help with. Cole is accompanied by Malcolm and goes to the girl's funeral and retrieves a box that the girl ghost gives him. The box contains a tape, which Cole gives to the girl's father.
Then, the father of the ghost girl watches. First in heartfelt reminiscence, as it shows a puppet show his daughter made. But then the video changes, and to this man's horror, he sees proof that his own wife, the girl's mother, was poisoning her to make her sick. And not only did she kill her, but now their second daughter is also getting sick in the same way. Everyone present determines that not only did this woman murder her first child, but she is also slowly murdering her second child.
With this action, Cole is able to save the younger sister of the girl ghost, finishing her unfinished business. He also learns to not be scared of the ghosts through this experience and chooses to endeavor to help them all from now on whenever he can. Days later, Cole is in a school play and gives a great performance as King Arthur. Malcolm sees the play and congratulates Cole. The two of them then speak for the final time, saying their goodbyes. And Cole recommends that Malcolm try to talk to his wife in his sleep to resolve their issues.
Sometime later, Cole and his mother are stuck in traffic, and Cole decides to tell his mother the truth. He'd been hiding it from her, but he says that a woman died in an accident, and she is currently by his window. He then recounts how Cole's grandmother moves a necklace and tells his mother a story that only the grandmother would know. With this, Cole's mother believes him and accepts the truth of the situation. The two of them finally communicate, and at last there are no secrets between them.
Malcolm finds his wife asleep and watching a tape of their wedding yet again. Throughout the story, he's been trying to speak to his wife, but unable to do so. Finally, he watches as she drops the wedding ring she had been clutching in her sleep, his wedding ring, which he thought he was wearing. The truth of what Cole told him before finally sets in. He was dead this whole time, only seeing what he wanted to see. That night, his former patient killed him. And what he perceived as his wife being distant was in fact her grieving his loss and trying and failing to move on with her life.
The temperature dips as Malcolm's emotions overwhelm him, but he takes Cole's advice and talks to his wife in her sleep. She's finally able to hear him. They have a brief conversation and are able to say their goodbyes. With this, the final thing Malcolm needed to do has come to pass, and he's able to move on into a gentle white light. Boom! 6 senses that kid had.
He did. Yes, he did. Yep, that's the 6th sense.
Roxy, you have like some experience with this movie, right? Growing up, you watched it a bunch?
Not a bunch. I saw it like once in theaters as a child, and I remember me and my friend clutching each other's arms and being terrified of it because Haley Joel Osment's like performance is very good in the sense that like you as a kid are very easily able to identify with this kid who is terrified.
Yeah.
And instead of taking away like the part that he finds himself at peace and is able to not be scared anymore, I just couldn't get rid of the idea of there could be a ghost in your room, in this room right now, staring at you, yelling, or like watching you, or like over your shoulder, or like, you know, watching you sleep, and you wouldn't know. And my kid logic brain just latched onto that and was absolutely terrified. So
can I tell you, I had a similar fear of this movie because I remember when this movie came out, like it was like the number one thing me and all my friends were talking about. I remember it came out at the end of the summer.
Oh, for real?
And we were so excited about it. We saw it I saw it a bunch. I did see it a bunch. And
really? Okay.
My fear was not that there were ghosts in the room that were attacking me, but that I was like Bruce Willis and didn't know I was dead.
Oh, that's similarly a thing to be terrified about too.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing I did a lot and still will do every once in a while.
Okay.
This is insane.
Okay.
There's a key line in this movie where Haley Joel Osment tells Bruce Willis, the dead people, they only see what they want to see. So I would close my eyes and I would hold my hands in front of my face with my eyes closed and press my eyes closed super tight and say, if I'm dead, I genuinely want to open my eyes and see skeleton hands. And I would open them and they were just regular hands. And I was okay.
I mean, that's a pretty good test. I mean, what else would you come up with to try and fix that, you know, or try and determine that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the actual answer is I'd have to finish my unresolved business. I'd have to finally have a conversation with my toxic narcissist of a mother. I don't know if that would be my actual business.
Well, if you're a kid.
What'd you think of it now coming into it this second time seeing it?
Well, because I knew the twist, I was definitely looking for things to see, like, what was Bruce Willis interacting with and how they had the other actors act across from him, you know? So I was, like, very focused thinking about that. And also just, there were some jump scares, and there are definitely some, like, scary parts. But at the end of the movie, it leaves you with a very kind of heartfelt feeling, uplifting in a way, even though, like, Bruce Willis's character, he's dead, he moves on, but he's able to communicate with his wife, and then Cole is much happier, and his mom actually knows, like, what's going on with him. It's all she wanted to know. And also just, like, Cole himself, like, making his peace with these ghosts, he chooses not to be afraid of them anymore. So, like, it legit made me cry when I got to the end of it, like, in a way, because it was so moving. It moved me to tears in, like, a good way.
There are two,
and I was like, how? I can't believe I was scared by this.
I would say there are like two transcendent scenes. I cried twice in this movie.
Aw.
In that I love, the obvious one is the scene at the end where Cole is talking to his mom and they're in the traffic jam.
Yeah.
And he tells the story about the grandmother. That is just like an incredible scene. But the scene I loved before that was also with Cole and his mother, where it was also about the grandma scene. It's a setup to the grandma scene where she's like,
oh, yeah.
Cole, my necklace was gone. I found it in your desk. I know you took it. Just tell me.
Yeah.
And he can't tell her because it's not the truth, but he also can't tell her. And
he doesn't want to lie. He doesn't want to lie. So he chooses not to lie, but he also can't tell the truth. And, yeah.
And it's so heartbreaking. His mom is just like, just tell me. And he's just like, he can't do it. And it's just like these two people who care about each other so much. And they're just at loggerheads. And I completely buy both of their motivations, why they want so badly for the other person to tell the truth. It's an incredible scene. It's not a surprise. So Roxy, I think we might just be a Toni Collette podcast now.
I would be fine with that. She's great in everything I've ever seen her in.
She's always good. She's great in this movie. She's great in Krampus.
Yeah, she's the like titular horror mom.
She's the horror mom.
Yeah, she's our horror mom.
She's our
Mikey.
horror mom. We'll get her we'll get her down
happy.
to the basement sometime and
that would be amazing.
Help her ward off all of these monsters that we're both fighting.
She would. She'd help us defeat. Maybe that's the finale. It's how we actually escape Demon Bot in the scary basement. As Toni Collette uses her horror mom powers to get rid of Demon Bot for us.
Can I tell you?
Here's contract business.
Here's my fear. I don't want to bring Toni Collette down here because I would worry that Demon Bot would take her, and I don't want to do that to her.
We would fight. We wouldn't let Demon Bot take Toni Collette.
I would let Demon Bot definitely take you before Toni Collette. And probably take me. Like, I can't say for sure, but probably. But
she's
Toni
our
Collette
horror
is definitely...
mom. She has to come first. I understand.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, I'd leave you to die in place of her as well.
Yeah, no, again, totally understand.
Yeah.
Roxy, I think that... I'm trying to quantify this. I would say that 50% of this movie, for my money, does not work. In which way? Every bit about Bruce Willis and his stupid wife, I think, is an actively bad movie. I hate it so much. I was watching it. No. And so that's what was so surprising to me, like, later on, especially towards the end. I was like, I am so moved by this because literally up till the 50-minute mark of this movie, I was like, this movie sucks. What? I hate this movie.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry.
I think it's because this is a movie that, first of all, I would argue is 100% better without the twist. And I think going into it knowing the twist, it's very dumb. It's just like a bunch of scenes of him like sitting down and her ignoring him. And his wife is just like doing her own thing. So here's my thing. Here's my whole thing with this whole movie, right?
Okay.
You have, imagine this movie rather without the twist. Bruce Willis is...
So like he knows he's a ghost?
No. He doesn't die. He's not dead.
Oh, okay. So he is just a human.
He's just a normal guy. And he has this patient who at the beginning of the movie we meet that he has failed. And then he meets this next patient that is reminding him a lot of it. And he's like, this is a chance to redeem myself. And then he's got his wife who is saying like, you need to let this go. You're too focused on this. You're ignoring me. They could have a conversation about this. And we've got like an actual meaty, realistic human thing that has happened to somebody. He's got a truly noble job that he cares about, but he can't reconcile that with his life that is falling away from him. And so the choice to give up Cole or not ends up becoming, again, like we were talking about this scene between Toni Collette and Cole, her son, where like they both want something so bad and they're both really real reasons why you would not do it. The Bruce Willis stuff, it's like, there's no real reason that they can't talk besides the fact the movie decided they want to have this fun little reveal at the end.
Well, I think it's showing the two different perspectives because we see Cole, who is someone who can see ghosts, and Bruce Willis, who is an actual ghost, who could be like, you know, it's kind of showing that stand in how
so many movies
how
just they gloss over the ghost perspective.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing, especially when you see like, you know, there's a part where he's sitting on the edge of his wife's bed and wants to talk to her, but she's like asleep and she's been crying, and like suddenly the temperature drops. You know, so it's kind of like one of those things where the movie gives you all the clues. So if you know, or if you're paying attention, you would have figured it out way before Bruce Willis did, even if you didn't know the twist. So in a way, it is like a mystery that gives you the puzzle pieces, which I appreciated. Personally, I thought it was more interesting, especially because his wife has this perspective as well, that she acknowledges and appreciates the sacrifice that her husband made to help children who are in trouble, who are in peril. And she kind of made her peace with that a long time ago. Like, it doesn't... You see it in the opening scene. She is, of course, would like to have more time with her husband, but she respects, appreciates, and admires the fact that he is helping these kids through these situations. So she, like, never resented him for it. And I kind of thought that was better than just making her be, like, an angry wife or something.
No, I agree. But
okay.
That is... Then there is truly no conflict in the Bruce Willis story.
Well, the thing is, for him, it seems like she has changed, but like she hasn't. She just can't deal with her grief, and she tries to move on, but she can't.
That's why I think that this movie is fun on the first viewing, but knowing the twist at the end, like, it's just like we always talk about how these stories, these horror stories are like realistically, not realistically, hyper realistically showing us experiences that we've had in real life. And I've definitely had experiences with people where like, you can see that this relationship is falling apart and you want to change it and you just can't. And the reaction isn't to, like, he never changes. He never, like, grows as a person. He figures out the little silly thing that happened to him.
Well, because his goal was never to change. He never needed to change. He just needed to succeed in his goal of helping this kid that he failed.
Right.
Like, that was the thing that he wanted. So he didn't have two things he needed to do, because Cole is the one who needed to change. He's the one who needed to accept things as they are and move forward, be vulnerable, and, like, tell the truth with his mom, and, like, accept the fact that he has this ability and can do something to help people with it. It would be cool if we had two characters that had to change in that way, but I think since Cole is there, we don't need Bruce Willis to do that.
I agree.
And it's more about him dealing with, like, the grief of death, and then Cole is more of the...
It's not, though. It's not about him dealing with the grief of death. It's about him not knowing a thing and then flipping a light switch and then being okay with death. Like, and that's what I mean. Like, I love the Cole story, and I think the Cole story works because it inherently has this conflict. All the time that they're spending with Bruce Willis, and, like, there's like this guy who's, like, coming to see his wife. So now, again, watching it back, it's like, is she openly cheating on him, like, when he's there? And it's just like, it reminds me of this.
Well, it's like when he wouldn't be seeing her. So from, like, his perspective, he's in the basement when the guy comes to the door, or he's at work when, you know, he's not there. So it might look like she's sneaking around or something when she's not.
And I think that's why it doesn't work, because the movie has to do so much work to get us into, like, little situations where it's like, of course she doesn't realize he's downstairs. Like, the only reason these things are happening is because the movie needs them to happen. Because he needs to be in situations where it looks like he's not dead, but when we go back and watch it, he's actually not interacting with anybody.
I mean, I guess for me, it was more like showing how she was trying to deal with the grief process. So it was showing how she was trying to move on and everything. I was thinking more about the wife's emotions, I guess, in that situation, because I knew the twists. For her husband, who she was completely devoted to, died maybe about a year ago or something. And so she's kind of trying to move on because she knows she needs to, but, like, she doesn't want to, really. So it's like this new guy's coming around, and she's, like, kind of trying to give him a chance, but is also like, I'm not really ready for this, and stuff like that. So I think it informed her and made her a more well-rounded character instead of just making her the wife. So I can understand why you have grievances and don't like it. I personally liked it and thought it was completely fine. It did not detract from my experience at all. But I guess because then they're showing their two separate lives, I guess. Bruce Willis's character, Malcolm's life, and Cole's life, I guess. So I didn't really think about it.
And I will also say the other thing, we've talked about this a bunch on this podcast, but, like, it so frustrates me when, like, we sit down to watch Troll Hunter and there's, like, 20 minutes when they're like, I don't think trolls are real. I'm like, just skip to it. This movie, until, again, 50 minutes in, when Cole says, I see dead people, that's when I think the movie starts. That's
because that's when you start seeing the ghost. Because so we haven't talked about this yet, but this is the time to talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't know what the deal is with Cole. You don't know it's about ghosts and all that until when he tells Malcolm. That's when you, the viewer, and when the movie itself starts showing the ghost. Because before that, you just see reactions. Like, for instance, all the cabinets in the kitchen being undone, and, like, Cole has his hands on the table. He's obviously very upset. It doesn't look like he's moved, but his mom comes in and is like, oh, did you move? Were you looking for something? Because she doesn't know how else to treat the fact that all of these cabinets are open after she turned around. And he's just like, oh, I was just looking for a Pop-Tart. And he says it in, like, the most terrified voice. Like, he's trying to not be terrified, but he is. And then when he leaves, like, his palms were sweating when he was, like, putting them on the table because he was so terrified.
Yeah.
And so she sees that. So you're like, is this kid, like, is he kind of, you know, like, messing around, or, like, what's going on? So they're, like, again, trying to give you clues to what's happening until then, when he tells Bruce Willis, then they're like, okay, now you get to see all the ghosts and you see what Cole has been dealing with this whole time, which is such a cool shift.
There's one scene that I hated. Which one? Toni Collette is, like, cleaning the house, and then she sees all the pictures that are hung up of her and Cole, and Cole is, like, looking at these little, like, flashes of light. And she's like, oh, what's going on? And it's, like, this really long scene. They have, like, 5 examples. And
I didn't even remember that happened. And it kept going. It's like this picture and this one.
It's ghosts. The answer is ghosts. Like, stop it. Let me connect with these characters. It's just ghosts. It's ghosts. I feel like I'm losing my mind. These fucking people. What's going on with my son? Ghosts! I am gonna die, Roxy, and I'm gonna find a fucking Cole kid, and I'm gonna say, just tell your mom it's ghosts, so we can all move on and enjoy the movie. Losing my mind.
The movie that is your life, Cole in real life child.
If your life is being a Sixth Sense thing, Cole, just tell her, because somebody is going to watch it in an alternate universe where this is a movie, and I need it to end.
The thing is, though, like, the movie is grounded in the real life, and you would not jump immediately to ghosts. It's just because that's the way the direction is being shown. We
have been seeing ghosts this whole movie. We've been seeing Bruce Willis. The rule isn't fair. The rule isn't fair. It's not that once he reveals the secret, then we as the audience get to see ghosts. We've been seeing ghosts.
But he's a POV character.
I'm going to lose my mind.
Mikey has lost his mind. I think this is the movie that's gotten you worked up the most for some reason.
It really has. Well, and here's what's frustrating to me about this.
Okay.
Because it really does feel like this is two movies, right? This feels like it's Bruce Willis and he's doing his silly ghost thing, and it's like, it is all, I mean, Cole even has this moment where, like, he goes, I think it's the hospital scene, where Bruce Willis goes to talk to him, and he's like, or Cole tells him, like, you're bad at telling stories. You've got to throw a few twists in there. And it's like, that is very clearly M. Night Shyamalan's perspective on storytelling. You've got to throw a few twists in there. And that's what's so unsatisfying about so many of his movies for me, is that they have these twists that ultimately mean nothing to these characters. And so we've got the Bruce Willis thing that it didn't work for me and is unsatisfying. And then you got the Cole thing that is just like that's like incredible movie making. Like, this whole Cole story is incredible. The going to the little girl's funeral is incredible and emotional.
Yeah.
And smart and no twists at all. Like, I mean, I guess there's kind of the twist that, like, the mother is involved in it, but it's like this very
you don't know what the clue is going to do, too. Like, you don't know exactly the specifics. You just hear, like, oh, yeah, she was so sick, it's so sad. And, oh, did you hear the little one's getting sick? Like, you just hear these conversations from the other people at the funeral.
Yes.
And then which, by the way, this actress who plays the pukey ghost girl.
Oh, I know.
She is,
I know who she is.
Was it Misha Barton? Yeah, from the OC.
She is from the OC. She played, holy shit, do I not remember this character's name? There's Ryan and Marissa Cooper. She plays Marissa Cooper.
Okay,
the OC is one of my all-time favorite
OC
shows.
fan club card if you could not remember her name.
I was scared.
You passed. Lucky for you.
30 characters total in my life that I know more about than Marissa Cooper. And out of the thousands of TV characters I've been involved with, that's pretty high up there.
Yeah. But so she gives Cole a box, and you don't know what's in that box. She, like, slides it across the floor in a very creepy way. Mm-hmm. And then he gives the box, like, very purposefully to the dad, and is like, she wanted you to have this. And you don't know it's a VHS tape until he opens it, and then he literally watches it at the funeral with everybody else there. This is when, you know, the entire crowd realizes what happened, and he confronts her about it. And so then you know that, like, okay, the little sister's going to be safe. But I think that scene also, because the mother, I don't know if she's a stepmother or if she is legit the mother. I think she's just the mother. I don't know. But she is by these red roses. And so it's kind of when I noticed, oh yeah, like, the color red, I forgot, is like a big deal in this movie, where they use it very strategically for certain things. It's very sporadic. They would even take it out of certain scenes if it didn't feel like it had, like, meaning or was trying to, like, draw attention. So she's like, by these red roses. Cole is wearing a red sweater, I think, during that whole scene as well. Mm-hmm. But so that's, like, the first time.
Yeah, red symbolizes dead people. That is what, like, the dead people are drawn to.
I think so, or it's just supposed to,
or it's like overall red is where the ghosts lurk.
Yeah, or it's supposed to comment on something like that happening or being around, I think.
I think that this, like, videotape reveal is a really good example of a twist that, like, affects the characters and, like, pushes the emotional story forward and, like, gives these emotional moments. Like, we earn these emotional moments because this father then has to confront him. And then we get this, like, kind of catharsis of, like, the saving of the younger girl. Like, I think that's, like, that's a better movie to me than the movie.
I really don't think it was that ineffective. It was plenty effective for me. I just don't understand why the twist at the end didn't work for you. You just thought it was too much, like, it was too prolonged?
No, because he brings up this really interesting, he talks with Cole about it. He brings up this really interesting conversation when he, like, this is how he gets Cole to open up to him about the dead people thing. he starts talking about himself. Again, communication. This is the big idea of the movie. Spoiler.
Yes, yeah. So I guess we're kind of talking about that right now. Yep.
He says, like, there's this doctor who, like, he lays out the good version of his story. He's like, I had this patient that I failed, and I want to help this new patient, but it's clearly costing me my wife. And that's like a heartbreaking story. And it wasn't what was going on. He just, like, didn't see the silly thing that, like, you're a ghost. And then he doesn't have an emotional moment. He's just like, oh, I'm a ghost. Okay, I'll move on.
Well, because he was worried about that, because he talks about how, like, his final words to her are, I never put you second. Like, I always cared for you first. You were willing to sacrifice so much for my job, but, like, I hated having to do that. I resented the fact that I did that. In my heart, you were always first.
Right. His story is just, like, spinning in the mud then. Like, he didn't...
But he never got to tell her that, especially because she, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not idolized, that's the wrong word. I guess she respected and appreciated the fact that he was putting others before himself as well. So, like, maybe he couldn't have a conversation with her about that. And the whole time you see him trying to talk to her, you don't know that he can't literally say it. It just seems like she's ignoring him, or is just, like, fed up, or, you know, resenting the fact that he almost died because of his work, I guess. And that's when you learn that that wasn't the case at all.
Right. they don't change it all throughout the story.
But it informs the communication theme, and, like, how they were miscommunicating, or at least thought they were. And he was never able to finally talk to her and say, like, you know, I actually cared about you first above all else, despite what I might have done. He wasn't able to finally tell her that until she was asleep, and, like, her mind was not filtering out the real world that ghosts can't exist. So she could actually be open to hearing him, I guess. I think it's fine if it didn't work for you. For me, it completely worked, especially just because, yeah, we can have different opinions on things.
And this is why I think it's got me so worked up, is because I saw, like, to me, there are these two movies, and there's the one part that didn't work for me, and then there's the one part that really did. And the question was, like, this was M. Night's first movie. And so it's like, which direction is he going to go down? And I feel like his perpetual fall has shown that he is way more interested in silly stories with, like, big twists than the emotional character stories that he's clearly capable of.
I think that's also a thing that people came to expect from him, which is kind of like, when you set a standard like that, like what The Sixth Sense has, there's no way you can live up to that. People are going to be looking for twists. Like, one of the reasons why The Sixth Sense was effective is because you're not looking for that twist the first time you watch it. You don't know what, like, an M. Night Shyamalan movie is. You're not expecting there to be a twist. His name is not synonymous with those things at that point. So that's why it hit harder. But then it's, oh, M. Night did a new movie, what's the twist going to be for this one? Like, that's literally what people came to expect after that movie.
Because he kept doing it.
Well, I think he probably felt like he had to live up to that, too, because it's what people expected from him. Like, he could have done something different. He was, like, a young director when this made it big. I don't know. There were certain movies he did where I thought it was interesting, where he tried to kind of, like, do a twist on that, like with The Village.
The worst example of it.
And then Unbreakable. I'm saying he tried to do something different. Yeah. I'm not saying it was, like, particularly effective, but
Unbreakable had the same thing happen to me, where, like, the twist at the end is that, like, fucking Samuel L. Jackson was doing all the crimes, and it's like, all right, so like, we already did the story.
For movies like those, it didn't detract as much, and it's more of just, like, the plot progressing. Yeah, sure, it's a twist, but, like, that could have been a twist in anybody else's movie, I guess. And then other movies where he tried to not do that, like, I guess Lady in the Water,
which I never actually saw.
I don't think that one tried to do a twist. It had plenty of other things that were dysfunctional going on, but it didn't. And of course, like the Avatar movie, which we should probably not speak about.
God, I haven't watched that. I love the Avatar TV show so much.
Yes, you do, Mikey. Even though you hate anime, dislike anime.
The only anime thing that I like at all.
And it's just like anime influences, not even anime. But anyway, that suffice it to say that he's done plenty of movies where there aren't twists.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you go from there. If you made The Sixth Sense, Mikey, if you were a young director, I think he was like 29, 28 or something when this happened. You have a movie that propels you out of obscurity, where suddenly you're a big name and people expect, like, oh, well, the next thing you do has got to be the biggest shit ever, right? Because like you did this, like what would you do? Would you try and do something completely different or try and do something that had elements to it that people expected from you?
Honestly, I would make Unbreakable minus the twist. I would make 90% of Unbreakable because I think Unbreakable is his best movie.
Unbreakable is very good. It makes me want to rewatch it now that we're talking about it.
Unbreakable, so again, like, I don't know. The fact that Cole literally states his storytelling philosophy in this movie makes me think that that's M. Night's philosophy, that like you need to throw a few twists and turns in. And twists and turns are fun. Like they are fun. Let's not
there's nothing wrong with that.
But there is, and I think we've talked about this a bunch before, this difference between plot and story. The plot are the like actual mechanics that are happening, and the story is the emotional weight of like what is happening to these characters. And I respond so well to emotional character stuff. And this is the only movie that like, if a movie like doesn't care about its characters, you know, we've watched silly, stupid bullshit on this podcast before, and it's enjoyable. This movie has one of the all-time great movies wrapped up in a movie that is about what if he was a ghost? And it's like, I've never been a ghost. I've never been a ghost. I've never tried to...
But like, have you had someone you love appear to not love you anymore? Because that's the thing. He's worried his wife has fallen out of love with him and does not love him. And then he finds out, no, she loves me so much that she kind of can't move on. So I need to let go of that. Yes. So like, that is the emotional twist. So you're saying that doesn't resonate with you?
But that's the thing. Like, they never dig into that. And when they decide to solve it, they solve it not through him looking at his life in a new way, realizing that
he has throughout the movie, I guess, because he's able to like save Cole and let go of that, and then he's able to like realize the reality of the situation his wife was dealing it with because he thought it was something else.
Do you know what I think basically this story, how the Bruce Willis story would function well as an emotional story if they were going to do this, like the twist is he was dead the whole time, and this probably gives it away and would take a ton more workshopping than just my flight of fancy idea. But if the story was about how Bruce Willis, I like saving kids, but when I die, no one's going to remember me. And I want to live forever. If he was like afraid of death and he wants to do something that like will make him remember forever, and he gets this plaque from the mayor that's going to be hung in City Hall. And she's like, no matter how long, you know, years and years after you die, you will have made a difference. And he's like, it's not enough. I need to do more. And then he finds out he's already dead and he's already done as much as he can, and learning that has to be enough. Then his work with Cole suddenly matters. Because the death is just like another thing.
It would change his character completely, though, because when he gets that award from the mayor, he's like, we can put it in the bathroom. I don't care. And she's like, no, this is a big deal. Like, kind of showing how she almost thinks more of his work than he does himself, because he's like, I appreciate it, and this was my life's work, but I also know that I sacrificed like time with my wife that I will never get back for it.
The thing is, and you keep saying this, and I think you're exactly right. It's like, it would change it too much, and the way that they are in the beginning of the movie is the way they are at the end of the movie, which is why I would argue that it's not like a functional story. They didn't learn how to communicate.
Not every character needs to change in that way, like in a character defining way. Cole did. They all have different problems.
If they're a storyline in the movie, they do. And that's why it's just like, I say that like every scene with Bruce Willis,
there can be different problems that aren't just character problems, though. And he did like make a realization. It's not that he didn't, but you think he didn't?
No, he didn't grow as a character. He learned a revelation that solved his problem instantly. He didn't grow as a person.
Well, it gave him different problems, I guess.
It's like,
because now he's dead.
It's like he wasn't struggling to communicate with his wife. He physically couldn't. And that's not about like character growth. That's about learning that you're dead.
I guess. Again, I think it's perfectly fine. I can understand like why you took issue with it.
It's because it's too. It doesn't matter. I've made this point.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I mean, maybe it's just also because the emotional impact of like their confrontation is not the right word. Their communication at the end, it felt so powerful that like anything that led up to that, I was like, oh, I don't care if when I was watching it, it didn't stick out that it didn't work. But like, I guess I was so impacted by their emotional impact that they had at the end when they're finally communicating that it probably would have buffered over any issues I had with it anyway, I guess. Because at that point, I'm like bawling my eyes out and being that affected by it. So I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Oh, so
in this moment.
That story emotionally worked for you at the end.
Yes, it did. Because it seems like she doesn't care about him and everything. But then you realize it's because she actually cared too much is why she was acting the way she was. And she just like couldn't let go. You keep seeing her watching the tapes of their wedding and everything. And I think anybody who's lost someone important to them, you know, it puts you in the mindset of like, what would you do if this person who is like the most important person in your entire life was just suddenly taken from you so instantly? Like, how would you move on? How would you function? You know, and so you see her throughout the story kind of like limping along. You know, she's just making these like kind of crappy one-person dinners by herself every night. You know, she can't really communicate with anybody else. She goes on their anniversary to like the restaurant where he proposed to her and like eats a dinner by herself very sadly. And like, you think they're having a conversation where he's trying to talk to her. She doesn't let him pay for the bill because he can't interact with it. Obviously, she's the only one there. And then she says like, happy anniversary, you know, and she's just saying that to herself. Mm-hmm. So I guess I was able to put myself in her shoes too. And like that emotionally got to me as well as like Bruce Willis's outlook on it too. I guess. So I guess being able to put both of their differing perspectives together at the end to then be like, oh, that's how it was, actually, worked for me emotionally, I guess.
Okay.
But but structurally, for someone that wants characters to, like, always grow and change, for, like, every viewpoint character, I guess, right? Is that the consensus, Mikey, if you have a viewpoint
Willis,
character?
The way you would actually, like, break this down structurally, like, Bruce Willis is the A story. And his, because we meet him first and we spend the most time with him. And Cole
he's
is
like
the B
adult,
story.
I guess. Yeah.
And all that time we spend with Bruce Willis, like, I think this is a much better movie if we spend it A, with Cole, or B, I think you're right that like the wife has a much more interesting emotional arc.
Yes. Yeah. And we are kind of denied that because.
So anytime we spend with Bruce Willis glaring out the window at this guy who's, it's just like, It reads so hollow, especially on rewatch. I'm just like, she's not cheating on you. Shut up. In the same way that I'm like, it's Ghost. It's like, you're dead. And it's that same like distance that it gives me.
Yeah. So I think I can meet you halfway on this. And like you brought up, I wish that the wife's character, like if we, the audience, knew about Bruce Willis being dead and we're more on the wife's journey for that, maybe he doesn't figure it out. Or maybe he does know he's a ghost and is trying to get her to know in some way. Like, that would be a much better thing to do.
Right.
So, yeah, like, I think there's ways to improve it, for sure.
That is kind of what I mean when I say, like, I don't think this movie really starts until minute 50. Because once Cole, like, lays out, I see dead people, it's like, then we can engage on this. Then we can start to figure out what the truth is.
Yeah, the audience is on the same level as the movie at that point.
Yeah, if he finds out he's dead and then he's trying to, like, I don't know, that's kind of an interesting thing too. Like, he's trying to find ways to communicate with her from beyond the grave. And I guess the answer is Cole. Cole could just like drop by and give her a note.
Like, you know, that's a good point. It would have made a lot more sense, I think, if Cole got more involved in Malcolm's story, because we have Malcolm getting involved in Cole's story, but Cole is not getting involved in Malcolm's story. The only thing he does to that effect is just give him the advice to like talk to his wife when like her perception of reality is a little bit different when she's asleep. So she's not like denying the fact that ghosts could be real.
And I would say that, like, again,
that's
like,
kind of a shame, actually, that we're talking about why didn't Cole like go into his life to try and help with that when he did that with other ghosts. The idea that I think is very powerful in this movie is that Bruce Willis tells him, like, I have been working so hard to help you, but the way to help you is to help you help others. Like, it's like this very powerful, like, way to progress this idea. And the thing that frustrates me is that there's like no cost to Bruce Willis for helping him. And so there's something kind of... Well, I guess because he's already paid that cost because he's dead now, I guess. And like his cost will just be... His cost will be that he doesn't get to be on the mortal plane anymore because he's figured out what he has to do. And we have no idea what's beyond that. It could be Oblivion. It could be an afterlife.
That's what the sequel to this movie should have been.
Sequel?
What Bruce Willis does.
To the Seventh Sense. Bruce Willis in the afterlife.
Now I see dead people and also know that I'm a dead person. Like, what if he can see dead people in heaven?
They're like, yeah, we can too. We're all dead up here, Bruce Willis. Shut up.
It would be very awesome. Okay, Roxy, here's my pitch.
Okay,
the Seventh Sense. Okay.
All right.
Bruce Willis is in heaven. Full on white toga, halo, barefoot, big angel wings.
Sure.
And he is a child psychologist in heaven.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And he meets this old patient of his who is also a child that is also an angel and breaks into his house and uses...
the same guy from the opening?
No, it's a different one.
Okay,
it's a different one this time. And
different one who breaks into his house.
And he wields the dark substance for which we talk not of. And he splashes it on Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis is obliviated because that's what happens in heaven. Like you died and went to heaven, but you still exist. But then Bruce Willis is obliviated.
You're making up all these heaven rules. Okay, so there's substance.
So then Bruce Willis, we cut to a year later, and Bruce Willis is holding his side from where he got slightly splashed by the dark substance from which we speak not of, and he meets this other little kid who can see obliviated people.
He can see obliviated people. That's the seventh sense.
And then the sixth sense happens again, and Bruce Willis doesn't find out he was obliviated because then he would have actually been obliviated.
Wait, so if he acknowledges he's obliviated, then he is?
No, he's not obliviated. It's just the movie I want. It's just the movie with no twist.
Okay, got it.
That's it.
That's the movie. That's
a good idea for a movie. I just...
Mikey and TM, Mikey's trademarking this movie. The Seventh Sense about people who are obliviated.
And it would be played by Bruce Willis, of course, but like the adult Haley Joel Osment.
There you go.
Playing a child, and we don't address it.
What?
He's like going to school, and like a kid who's actually age appropriate is cast as like the bully. He's like, "Hey, nerd!" He like reaches up and grabs the adult man's head and gives him a noogie, and then they go to Catholic school together. This movie rules.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Well, Mikey, did you have a question for me?
Boy, do I. Roxy, in this movie, Cole helps people who died in horrible ways. How would you like to die so that you would have no inclination whatsoever to come back and visit a kid like Cole?
I'd say winning the lottery.
What?
If I won the lottery right before I died. Or like, so wait, is Cole supposed to help me with my regrets, or I would die so I don't have to talk to Cole?
I think the way you die so that you can just avoid Cole altogether.
Okay, yeah. So if I win the lottery before I die, so then I can,
so you can pay off all your debts,
loans, buy my parents like a cool retirement house that they want, get myself some cool ass house, and that's where I die in. You know, don't have to worry about rent and all that. I think that would be pretty great.
That sounds good. I do
and
like the idea.
Nobody has to pay my loans when I die then, because those don't go away when you die, is the thing. The student loans,
from your perspective,
exist.
They do.
I mean, they persist beyond death for everybody else around you.
Because everything goes away when you die.
Well, for me, yeah, but that would be unfinished business, I would feel like, if I was saddling someone else with that. So, yeah, lottery would wipe that out and let me do all kinds of other things. So,
can I tell you, though, really quick? Here's the movie I want to make before I make the seventh sense, the 6.5 cents. And
6.5 cents?
It follows Cole still. He's still, like, alive and helping dead people. And a person comes to him, and they're like, "Hey, I need your help to put my affairs in order." And Cole's like, "Okay, what can I do for you?" And he says, "I need $100,000 to pay off my loans and buy my parents a house." And Cole's like, "No, I can't do that." And then the rest of the movie is just like a fun, like jaunty montage of Cole like getting various odd jobs, like painting a fence and then holding out his hand, and somebody like counts out $1, 2, 3, $400.
Well, also if you're a ghost, you can like go places to see things people don't want you to see. So if you can like somehow go to the Lotto Empire building, skyscraper building they're in, who knows? I don't know where the Lotto people are. Yeah. Go and peep their numbers, and then you go and tell Cole, and then he can take care of that for you.
Roxy, it's a heist movie.
Yes, it is.
You have the ghost sit and watch while the guy enters his keypad.
Yeah.
You get one ghost who specializes in explosions.
Oh my
one
God,
ghost who specializes.
We're bringing more ghosts into it.
You build your ghost team.
Well, you can do hacking. One who is the face, he's able to like schmooze and talk his way into any situation.
It's just Ocean's 12, except every character except for Cole has just like a slight transparency on them. You can kind of see the background behind them.
And then we'll cut occasionally to like parts where you can only see like the real world without the ghost. Right. So it's just like Cole running around doing things or having conversations.
Dude.
Then we'll cut back to see what you can actually see.
Crazy how good we are at making movies.
We need to trademark this one, Mikey. Let's co-write this, please.
Okay.
6.5 cents. I can't wait. What about you, Mikey? What would you do?
I'll tell you how I hope to die so I avoid a Cole kid.
Okay.
I want to get very suddenly sliced like the guy in 13 Ghosts.
What? What? Why? Okay, please explain.
I want to die so swiftly and so suddenly and with no hints of anxiety or worry that I don't even have time to worry about what my unfinished business is. Have you heard the
But wouldn't you just
like,
not perceive, you wouldn't perceive that you had died though, so wouldn't that cause you to more than anything stay around?
Here's what I'm working off of.
Okay.
The reason you want to have like your cattle that you're going to one day turn into steak and eat killed in like a serene way is because when an animal tenses up and has anxiety, it like changes the meat, like the chemical composition. They release like an anxiety chemical in their brain that changes the meat.
Oh gosh, I have heard of this before.
And so I just want to avoid any of that chemical in me. So I want to just be walking through a glass house and I want very suddenly to go shink and then I'm just dead. And I don't get to think about it and I don't get to be afraid. Because then, like, I think the reason you get these resentments is because you're like, oh my God, I'm about to die. And I never told Sandra at the Starbucks that I loved her. And then that's what gets you worried. If I don't have time to think about it, who cares? Then it's just like, oh, well, God, off to hell.
I've already decided that's where you're going. Well, okay, I'd say that, yeah, if you are able to move on that way, as long as you're not perceiving that you didn't die. Because I think Cole says that these ghosts don't know they're dead.
Oh, yeah, I would see myself sliding down. I would be sliding down.
Okay, so you'd be like, yes, I am dead.
Here's the thing.
Goodbye.
So many of these ghosts in this movie, The Sixth Sense, are walking around. And of course you don't know you're dead. There's a fucking hole in the back of your head, right?
Yeah.
Of course you don't know. Bruce Willis isn't like looking at his gut all the time to see if he's dead. If I am walking around and half of me is gone, and I'm like falling over because my center of gravity is so different, I'm gonna know.
I would hope so. The thing is though, because like Bruce Willis doesn't perceive his wound until he knows is the problem. So you might think you're whole until you have the realization that you're dead.
That's true.
And then you'll be in half.
Which is why, as I'm living now, I'm constantly feeling the back of my head and the front of my head, and just like making sure: am I stable? Have I been
I was
chopped?
wondering about that. You keep touching your head this whole time we've been recording the podcast, and now the twist is revealed. I know why you've been doing it the whole time. You need to double check.
I feel like
you moved on from skeleton hands, so you upgraded from skeleton hands to checking the back of your head.
You definitely know better than I, but it's an anime trope, right? Where somebody will like slash their sword and the guy will be like, I thought you were going to hit me. And then they slowly slide off.
Yeah, there's definitely a trope like that. Yep.
I could be a podcast episode long sliding off in the middle of it right now.
I mean, we keep talking about your tombstone that I'm going to plan for you. So when you are fully sliced in half at the end of this episode and die for real, then everyone's going to be like, oh, they were putting in hints before that. We saw it coming.
Roxy,
but
to be clear, if I do get sliced in half, you do need to prepare 2 graves.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll make it easier to make a puzzle if they're interacting with each other, I guess. But that's going to be, you better put some more money in the coffers for the gravestone fund.
The grave fund will remain the same. Roxy, on a scale from 1 to 9, since the number 10 does not exist in the scary basement, how likely do you think the events of The Sixth Sense are to happen in real life?
So I said 8 out of 9 because we all die someday.
Sure.
And also, it's very easy to not be able to communicate with those close to you until, like, maybe something pushes you to do so. But I'd like to think that all of us would be able to do that, and that if there is some sort of afterlife, we'll all be able to somehow figure out how to move on in some way. So I guess kind of it's sort of aspirational. It would be nice to believe that, when we die, that's not just it, and that maybe there's something beyond that, and maybe we can still kind of communicate with those around us before we go. Yeah, I know. What about you?
I thought about it similarly. I said a 6.
Okay.
Because my line of thinking is like 50-50. If this ghost shit happens, then these events play out exactly the way they are.
Yes. Yep.
If there is any sort of afterlife, which, honest to God, flip of a coin for me. I don't know.
Yep. Same.
Then the events of this movie are a documentary.
There
but
you
I
go.
just don't know one way or the other.
Yeah. So we're pretty close this time.
Pretty close. Yeah, we get it. We're on the level.
Okay, so we had a bet last week, which was how many ghosts are in the movie total? Mikey, you said
11.
Okay, and I said 12. And so the actual answer is 9.
9.
9 ghosts in the movie.
French.
Cool. Learned something new today. 9 in
Roxy just fucking shaking me. Cool. Good job, dude.
Sorry.
Guess I'll go fuck myself.
No, I learned a new fact. My tone was wrong. I apologize.
It's funny because you're the sweetest sweetheart. And obviously you didn't mean that. It was funny for you to just do it sometimes. Sometimes you should just say, oh, cool, dude. Fuck you. And let it linger.
Okay, that'll be my Shyamalan twist that I'll have to keep in my back pocket. Just you never know when I'm going to drop that. You never know when I'm going to drop it.
That's good.
So the actual answer is 9, which means you were closest, Mikey, with 11.
I did it.
So hell yeah, win for Mikey this week. So you've been keeping a total,
yes.
Mikey. What are we up to now?
Roxy, you have 16 points. I have 13 points. We have 1 tie.
All right.
I'm climbing up.
Catching up. Again, we have no idea what happens. If we want to win or lose or tie, we don't know. So, hey, that's one more tally to put in your column, I guess. Whatever that means.
Either I just got one step closer to winning, or one step closer to death, or one step closer to infinite things. Could be one step closer to a new Super Nintendo. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Boy, howdy, I hope it's a new Super Nintendo.
That would be tight. Speaking of, here comes the man who would give us that Super Nintendo, the Demon Bot, stomping on over.
Congratulations, you have successfully reviewed Sixth Sense. Your souls are safe for another week. For next week, you must review the 2009 film Drag Me to Hell, directed by Sam Raimi and starring Alison Lohman, Justin Long, and Lorna Raver. If you do not, your souls will be forfeit and I shall claim your bodies as my own.
So, Roxy, next week, Drag Me to Hell, Sam Raimi.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all I know about
Drag Me to Hell. I think this is the first Sam Raimi movie we've watched for the podcast, I believe.
I've heard that his upcoming film, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, is the first horror-twinged MCU movie. So,
oh, is it for real? Okay, I will actually want to watch that then. I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's true.
What? I thought you're a big MCU.
Well, they say that a lot. They're like, oh, The Eternals is the first sci-fi MCU movie. It's like, no, it kind of isn't. Like Captain America Civil War is kind of the first espionage. It's a 70s paranoia movie. It's like, it is, but not really. It's still just an MCU movie, which, to be clear, I love. Roxy, for next week, we got to make a bet for Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, let's do it.
How many times do you think the word hell will be said in the film?
I don't think they're quite as machine gun about it as Leprechaun was with Gold. So I'm going to be a little more conservative and say 10.
Okay. I'm going to go even less than that.
Okay.
And say 8.
All right.
The pact has been sealed. I mean, the bet is confirmed. Whoever is closest to the number of times the word hell is used shall be declared the winner. The winner will receive a 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88, slightly used.
Okay, Mikey, so we have been talking about some spooky things because this is the Scary Basement podcast. By definition, we have to talk about scary things. So how about we talk about something that is making us happy this week? So what made you happy this week, Mikey?
Roxy, this is the first time this has ever happened, but the thing that is making me happy is the same thing that spooked me to my bones.
Oh.
Roxy, they were doing construction at my house.
Yes.
And a few days later, the contractor called me.
Uh-huh.
And said, hey, there's only 2 spots that are going to be affected by our work. You can keep parking exactly where you're parking, buddy.
Mikey, you Shyamalan twisted me.
Roxy, I didn't Shyamalan twist me because that reveal had an emotional effect on me.
Oh my God.
It made me feel good.
I feel like there should be some sort of zinger sound effect here.
I suppose.
Okay, so you actually have your parking spot then.
I am back to 0. I didn't lose anything, but I didn't gain anything either. And it made me... I literally felt a wave of relief as he told me. I was just like, I'm not going to have to go searching for a parking lot in my neighborhood. I'm not going to have to drive for 6 hours looking for a space. Well,
especially because like your rent people just said they'd only knock off $70 a month, which is like 2 days parking in LA, if that. Like
one
what the fuck?
video game.
And also that is the equivalent of that as well.
It would have paid for my 1 copy of Elden Ring. Spoiler alert, I already have Elden Ring, dude. $70 a month is not going to help me. Roxy, what's making you happy?
Well, we're talking about video games, and of course I picked a video game thing this week. I beat the second expansion for Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah!
Stormblood is the expansion, and the ending to it is insane, Mikey.
Oh, yeah?
The majority of it is, like, pretty solid. It's, like, very good. It's kind of universally known as not everyone's favorite, which I would agree with that so far. I like the expansion before it more, but I still really like this one. I don't think anybody should be shitting on it. But it was, like, relatively kind of similar in tone until you get to the ending and finally fight, like, the enemy they have been foreshadowing this entire time. And, like, your confrontation with him is absolutely bananas crazy. I don't want to give, like, any spoilers, but it was very satisfying. And I was, like, yelling at my screen on Twitch with everybody, like, what the fuck?
That's fun.
It was incredibly fun. And I had a great time with it. And I'm looking forward to doing the next part, which everybody says the next expansion is like their favorite. So
is this the Final Fantasy game where the silly man is listening to Limp Bizkit?
No, that is Stranger in Paradise, which I would have liked to have been happy about, but Square Enix said that people can't stream it, so I chose not to buy it.
Oh, really?
It was a very backwards press release they had. They were like, we won't protect any of the copyrighted music in it, and you just can't stream it. We won't let you because we don't want people to see the story. And it's like, what? Why this game in particular when it was getting so much good press about how goofy and over the top it was? And I even streamed the demo, which there needed to be more goofy scenes in that demo. So I would have liked to have played the rest of the game to see just quite how goofy they go. Demo was relatively fun. I was shilling for the game, being like, yeah, I was literally never going to play this until I saw another streamer stream that clip. It made me want to play it and stream it. Then actually trying out the demo, I was like, hey, I'm going to buy this game and stream it. And other people were like, I will too. And then Square Enix said, how about no? You can't do that. So I was like, okay, then I won't. So anyway, Final Fantasy XIV, much better. That's making me happy.
It does kind of make sense why the Square Enix community manager is here in the scary basement, hanging out with a glob with human lips and the Pinraiser from Hellraiser. Pinhead from Hellraiser is his name.
The community manager is probably only the middleman. I'm sure it's like the CEO.
Roxy, each week, the demon bot hires a new monster to guard the basement door and keep us from escaping, and yet each week we still escape. This week, I brought something with me to help us against whoever the guardsman is.
All right.
Roxy, I brought 3 knives that I'm going to put in between my fingers, like Wolverine.
Oh, okay, yeah, Wolverine situation.
Did you ever do this when you were a kid? You take like 3 knives and you put them all in your fist and they're like Wolverine
I do that
knives?
all the time with my keys if I ever have to go out at night.
Oh, right. You have that
purposes.
Real frightening thing that you have to do.
But it would be much more effective if I had legit knives, so
no,
I think this will be more effective.
I used to play Wolverine a lot, so
that's fun.
Calling back. Let's just open up the basement door and... Okay.
Oh, can you see?
Yeah, it's a simple lobster beast.
Lobster beast. Okay,
yeah, just
you've
a big
seen
lobster.
These lobster beasts? All right. Do they have like a weak spot or something?
We're going to try. I'm going to just take a swing and... Oh, Roxy, I dropped them. The knives weren't stable in my hand.
Oh my God, were you not gripping?
It's just they were kind of loosely in my fingers.
Okay, well, you got its attention. We got to get out.
Look at Roxy.
Hey, how dare you?